in business school at Stanford, and they really appreciated that when they were developing their first app of their own, that there were meetups available, and they could just go to these meetups, network with other people, and also speak to people on a panel who have done a lot of things that they were going to be embarking on with the app that they were developing. They went and that app ended up being a failure, but they ended up starting Branch, which happens to be a very, very big success. And once they started to see some success with Branch, they said that the one thing they wanted to give back was these mobile growth events. So we've been doing these events for the past 5 years, starting in the San Francisco Bay Area, branching out to all over the US. And for the past 2 years, we've been doing them in Europe. This is our first time in Stockholm, and I don't think it's going to be our last. So that's a little background on mobile growth itself. And up next. Yeah, also want to give a quick shout out to Impact Hub. So that's the space that you guys are in right now. So thank you, Impact Hub, for hosting this event for us. It's really, really great. Cool. So now I'm going to hand this off to my colleague Elena, who just is going to speak just a quick few minutes about Branch.
So hi everyone, I'm Elena. So Self development representative from Can you hear me right? No?
Yeah, close to the mouth.
Okay, so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm from Branch, and I'll tell you a little bit about what Branch does actually. So, but first of all, I'll start with general digital landscape nowadays. So in 2019, for the first time in history, mobile has surpassed TV as the #1 screen, meaning that people spend more time on mobile than on TV. And this is a great source, great platform to reach your customers. But unfortunately, mobile ecosystem is extremely fragmented, and I'll explain why. So your brand can be present on different channels on mobile, social media, email. Your customers can interact with your brand through different browsers and different devices as well. And once they download your app, it's actually pretty difficult to identify what channel or what campaign actually drove this conversion. And but Branch, good news is that Branch can solve this problem. Branch solutions are based on deep links that connect all your channels and give you visibility into a single user journey across platforms, and also allow you to accurately attribute downstream events. So just to give you like more visual explanation of what it means. So normally app installs fall into two categories. It's either paid or organic, but most of the time organic is not really organic, it's misattributed. And with Branch, you will be able to see what channel drove your acquisition, retention, and revenue, whether it's organic search, email, referrals, mobile web, or ads. And now, Branch, over 60,000 apps use Branch worldwide. Just to name a few, it's Amazon Music, Airbnb, Pinterest, some European brands, Tullberg, Skyscanner, and we have more, but another one we have, I can give you a little bit more information, it's Omio, formerly Go Euro. So once they implemented Branch, they saw a 15% increase in installs, and they also doubled the number of their engaged users. Not bad. And so all in all, Branch is a deep linking infrastructure that can integrate with your email service providers, ad networks, analytic tools, and just to give you a possibility to get maximum from each digital touch with your customers. So that's all. Briefly, if you want to know more about Branch, this is branch.io, or talk to me, or Vikram, or Amanda tonight. Thank you.
And now time for the fun. So, can I please invite our lovely panelists to take a seat?
Yeah, Camilla!
Cool. So there's one mic for y'all, so we can just kind of, pass it on. I think maybe is it turned off now?
No?
No,
Does it work?
perfect. Yeah,
All right.
works great. Cool. So obviously, I think everyone saw your titles, the companies you worked at. But just to kick things off, maybe we can just go down the line. Everyone can introduce themselves, say a little bit about the work you do, the company you work at, and what brings you here today.
All right. Hello. So my name is Jesper, and I'm a web and growth analyst at Telenor, which I think everybody knows. And I actually host the Swedish Growth Hacker Meetup. So I don't know, how many of you have been to a Swedish Growth Hacker Meetup before? Yeah, that's kind of good. We have 1,000 members in Meetup, so we also did a invite, so it's a little bit of a collab. And so we are hosting our next meetup, the 24th, and it's going to be about how to be a developer in a growth team. So that's quite exciting, actually. We usually get more marketing people, but developers are also very interesting, and we want to focus on that. So we're going to be at Columbia Road the next time. All right, so just a little bit about what I do. We sell in stores on telephone, but we also sell online. So we really try to get as many sales as possible online. So I do analytics on what happens on the web, basically, and a bit on the app also. So as you can imagine, we have a lot of projects, even more than we can manage, because more money, more problems, and that's really sort of what you get as a big company with a lot of money. Yeah, but that's just how it is. I guess you have the opposite, maybe.
Easy, guys.
My name is Carl. I work at a startup called Hedvig, based in Stockholm. I'm a growth manager in the growth team there. Basically what Hedvig is and what we're trying to do is basically we're trying to make insurance into something transparent and fair and simple that everyone can use, so that once and for all people can understand insurance and how you do it. Fun stuff. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rebekah. Wow, you have to get really intimate with this mic. I am in charge of organic growth channels for a startup here in Stockholm called Fishbrain. If you've heard of it and if you like fishing, then it's a great app for you. Basically, it allows people who enjoy fishing to find a lot of data on where to fish, what times of day to fish, and meet and socialize with other anglers as well. And prior to working there, I worked at an agency in the US where I serviced clients from around the world, including mobile apps and Fortune 500s as well.
Hi, my name is Camilla and I work at Bynk. I'm a product manager there. I don't know how many of you have heard of Bynk. It's a Stockholm-based fintech. Can you see a show of hands?
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty good. So Bynk is we say scale up now, not startup, fintech company, and we really want to challenge like the banking industry. So in Sweden, typically we have these big giant banks that are not really fast when it comes to technology, and they're also stuck in old cost structures. So they're charging their customers a lot of money. So we want to change that. We want to provide a really nice customer experience, and we want to make it more affordable for our customers. So we started out with a few products, and now we're scaling up, basically. And I'm product manager for the checkout.
Hello, I'm Vineeth. I'm the executive producer at Glorious Games. How many of you are gamers out here? Okay, relief.
Nice.
How many of you actually do games as a profession?
Okay.
Some. Okay, I need to get creative with my responses there.
Maybe you inspire some people to start doing gaming as a profession.
Let's hope. So we are a company that focuses on making games for women specifically, and if you are based in Stockholm, you'll have heard of Stardoll. It's been around for several years, and Stardoll is now Glorious Games, and I'm running the company out there. And I've been in the industry of games itself for over 2 decades. Previously at Rovio, running Angry Birds 1 and Angry Birds 2. and now trying to help the team grow the business into mobile specifically.
Perfect. Cool. You can hold on to that, or actually you can pass it back to Carl, because Carl is going to be getting the first question. So just to give everyone some perspective, we have some general topics that we're going to go over. The first are going to be discovery, acquisition, and onboarding. Actually, though, before we jump into that, we have an icebreaker for everybody, because I think this is actually a fun way to start. So could you tell us all about an app that you have on your phone right now? And I'm not thinking YouTube or Google Maps or things like that, but something that's a bit different that maybe we'd be surprised to find out that you have.
Yeah, I actually have one. It's called Prego. It's a pregnancy app. And the way that they onboarded me was that my wife is pregnant, and she made me, download it. I never know which week she's in, so it's very good. You get the percentage and everything, so I can always hold that up and like, yeah, here she is.
I quite recently downloaded an app called Reflectly. Anyone have used that? It's like this amazing diary that you can like write down your thoughts, and if you're having a good day or bad day, and go back in history and learn a lot about yourself, which is really cool.
How did you find it?
I started to Google. I've been using like a lot of mindfulness apps, and I looked for like alternatives, and got a lot of blogs that wrote about this. Probably affiliate links, but like still. Cool.
I guess I'd also be on the mindfulness train. So I use Headspace. Has anyone heard of that one? Yeah, meditation app. So I've really liked all of the educational content they had around different types of meditation and just how it impacts brain chemistry. So that really attracted me to the app.
Yeah, so I have one app called Cladwell. So I'm doing this thing called Project 333, which is that you're only allowed to have 33 items in your wardrobe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, to be more sustainable, not to buy too much clothes and so on. So then there was this influencer who was super good at sustainability and being conscious about everything, and she recommended the app on YouTube. So that's how I found it out. So now it can tell me how to match my outfits with the few items I have.
Cool.
I've got this app called Sunseeker.
I can see why maybe you have it on your phone, but
Yeah, so as you can imagine, I'm an expat, so the first thing I would do in winter is which side is the sun coming out. So when picking an apartment, that turned out to be quite useful. So how I found it was quite interesting, because I was Googling stuff, and then I found some article about best apps to have when you are in Sweden. So it was an interesting journey, and I think we're probably going to talk about multitask attribution. Brian spoke a bit about that, so it's an interesting space.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll chime in here too. Has anyone heard of an app called Wannabuy? So it's an AR app where you can put your feet out, and it'll show you how different shoes look on your feet. So check it out if you guys want to, because shoes are expensive. You want to kind of know about how it looks before you make the purchase and not go into the store. But cool. So let's icebreakers out of the way. Want to hear a little bit more from you all about about kind of driving growth. So let's start with you, Vineeth. Can you tell us about, throughout your career, a successful promotion that you've run, and what you thought made it successful?
Okay, so at least in my experience, what we've seen is as those industries evolve so much, all these business units still function as silos. So you've got the product team focusing on building a great product, then you've got marketing trying to support them. But where I've seen in the games quite a lot of challenges coming is they don't talk to each other necessarily enough, because each one is doing their bit and then trying to have one point of contact, communicating and getting things moving forward. So when I was at Rovio, where I saw good successes, we worked in very close collaboration with the UA team, and we initially had a product which was focused more towards a single player progression perspective, and then we tried and built a lot more community features. And once we got it to a stage where it was scalable, where they could see a return on investment at a much earlier stage, that helped the UA team kind of decide at what point they need to kind of accelerate their budget and spend. And this level of collaboration will only happen if you have the teams kind of embedded within your game studio. So it's really important to have both teams work as one group, not separate silos.
Got it. So essentially making sure you're combining UA, not just as its own siloed function, but communicating with marketing, communicating with product, communicating with engineering. Cool.
Yeah, so not a promotion, but a feature. So obviously I'm in product, so I really like to focus on the customer experience. And so our first product was a loan, and we provided, like usually banks don't want to remind you that you have a loan, and they don't hide away all the features so you don't think about it and don't remember you have it. But we want to change that. We want you to be in charge of your loan. So we have one feature that's like top up. So if you want to increase the loan, you have that availability. And we noticed that a lot of our customers were only topping up small amounts, so it's not necessarily they wanted to take a new really big loan. So then, since we saw this usage, we thought of why not just make one feature that's just for that small part. So we actually built another product that's very appreciated and used a lot now. So that's how we found another revenue stream.
Cool.
And it's all in the app. I'm proud to say that. So we're only mobile.
Nice.
So from a promotion in my past agency work, I worked with a large company. I don't know about disclosure, so I'll just leave that confidential. But every year they release a large article about most dangerous celebrities. You could probably find it and figure out. But basically, we worked with them to release these articles about most dangerous celebrities, and the intent was to educate consumers on how, just Googling these really popular search terms and clicking on links willy-nilly can possibly infect your phone or your computer. So that would encourage people to download a VPN and proxy app that would help protect their phones. So that increased installs from that specific promotion by, I think, about 60% year over year.
I think the most recent one was that we launched a referral program this summer. That was kind of a long scope that we started out with 5 months ago. And making a referral program from insurance is quite weird, lowering your cost by inviting friends. So I think that was going step by step. I think something that we realized quite quickly was that people don't want to pay less really for their insurance, because they think that then there's no money to help me when I'm having a problem. So I think that was a lot about communication and making that right. So we built out basically a referral program where you can lower your fee when you're inviting friends, but we're not taking anything from the claims pool that the money goes into. So we're actually taking money from the expenses we usually put on Facebook ads or Google ads, and we put that back to the members' fees to lower their fees with, because we would rather give that back to the members than giving that to Facebook and Google.
All right. What was the question?
Yeah, so just about a successful feature promotion that you launched and what you thought made it successful throughout your career. Something that sticks out.
Yeah. This is funny because I used to work with an e-commerce that sold sex toys. So there's a bunch of them, of course. And I don't know, basically what I did was, this is probably the most data-driven thing I have done. So before, when you bought Facebook ads, you didn't get this audience insights. You just had to click in the different type of features and then you got an estimate. I don't know if you remember that, but when you bought ads, that's basically how it worked. So you you could get the audience insights inside of Facebook, but nobody talked about it. Anyway, so I had this email list of all the customers, and you could actually upload it, and it was hashed and blah blah blah, and we didn't even care, but it was safe enough anyway. But actually what we found out was that it was a relationship product. So 70% of the customers were in a long-term relationship, and most of them were in Gothenburg also for some reason. So it's not a surprise. So it actually went where we could actually rebrand the entire store to become more of a relationship brand and not so explicit and following the trend. This was quite a while ago, so the trend has been going towards some more less extravagant way of expressing yourself. But we were actually quite early in knowing how to adjust to the actual customer group, and we talked about things like, so just basically after the Christmas holidays, divorce rates go up. So then we started divorce season and had that as a campaign, and it was actually pretty good. And that was also in the dead period of January where sales sucked. So that was actually quite interesting how you could work with the data, and you don't have to do this big, data science things and figure out and do this modeling and everything. You can just go into the tools and see what you find and try to act on it, and you'll be surprised about all the things that you can find. And we still do that at Telenor. iPhone releases and it's just basic stuff. But if you don't know what you have, or if you don't look at what you have, you don't know what you have, and actually you have a lot more than you think many times.
Yeah. Cool. So Carl, you just mentioned, I guess, a hypothesis that you made at Hedvig around this referrals program. Can you tell us about another story where you hypothesized a specific growth channel and then you ended up uncovering it to be effective?
I think for us, like initially when we launched, so Hedvig got launched a little bit more than 1 year ago, and I think like to get those kind of first customers in was a really, like, it's hard, especially with a product like insurance, because like people want to join something where there's a lot of like background story, of a lot of safety, and I think like for us, we've tried to find initially this kind of first cohort, the first people that would join. And we quite easily saw that there was a lot of people signing up organically by themselves, and a lot of these people were very young, and a lot of people were students. So that was kind of the first real cohort that we got in, and I think we went from there on and trying to find, okay, we had a project last year where we went in and said, okay, so how can we find every single student in Sweden, and like double down on the students for a while. And I think that was it was a big project where we initially like tried to find out what's the touch points of a student moving into a city, everything from like what things are they Googling, which websites do they visit, and what companies could we partner up with. So I think that was a huge project, but that involved in us getting on board the first members, and now like we can see that the average age of a Hedvig member have risen quite a lot this year. So we have an average age of around like 29 today. So it's growing, and we can also see that these people are inviting both like parents, but also like older people that they know to the service.
Cool.
But I think that's what we needed to do. That was nailing not only one part of the journey they go to when they go to a student city, but to be a little bit everywhere. So examples for that was Google and doing Facebook ads, but also working super closely with like the student unions. So like when you're entering your home in the first day, we also had people there giving out like offers.
Cool.
So combining online and offline.
Nice. Really cool. We'll come back to offline in a moment. But Camilla, so I mean, it seems like a lot of people have heard about Bynk, obviously, which is awesome. And as a product manager, I think any product manager here can attest to this, that you get asked all the time by colleagues, by friends, by customers about, hey, build this or enhance that when it comes to different features, right? So I think it would be great to hear what your philosophy around that is and how you prioritize, what to build next.
Yeah, so obviously that's like one of the trickiest thing with this role is balancing like the customer needs with business wants, and you obviously want to do both, and you can't fall too much on one side of this. And you have all these like great ideas from all the departments, and obviously you want to do most of them. But I always try to find some kind of, I think the best way is to find where can we make big impact with, that's a good relation into how much work we need to put in. And metrics, I mean, that's difficult to get away from, to get customer insights and metrics on how much could this impact if we get it. So always like supporting your gut feeling or the results you have to make a good decisions in your prioritization. And that's also very good in like convincing all the stakeholders, like why are we prioritizing this before the other thing. And then obviously listen to your team. Your team is your best resource, they have the best ideas. And learn to say no. I think that's the trickiest thing, to say like, no, we're never going to do that, because obviously we want to please everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Rebekah, so you work in SEO, and I think the average person from an SEO standpoint, mobile SEO standpoint, they think about, this is how I get more people to go to the App Store, so how I get more people to go to the Play Store. So is there more than just optimizing an app listing? And if so, how can one leverage a broader SEO strategy around mobile discovery?
Yeah, actually it's interesting. Like you said, most people do their optimization within just the app description itself. So you tend to just get some incremental gains, just messing with stuff continually and iterating on that. But like a recent study by Google showed that 40% of people find apps through the app search engines themselves. So that's a large part of the audience that isn't using app search engines, that are looking for apps that are available for their various needs. So a good, like just general organic strategy would take into account all of the other channels users might be using to discover this. So how can you create content that users might be searching for around a particular need that would highlight the fact that the app is out there and exists, and then link them and refer them to the app search store directly? Or how could you use groups or social media around a particular need or particular niche topic to really highlight the value of that app and introduce that to customers?
So Vineeth, we're going to segue over to you, talk a little bit about gaming. So in the world of mobile gaming, and for anyone maybe that wants to aspire to be an indie game developer, what advice would you give them out there if they have a limited resources, limited budget, but they're looking to get their game discovered?
I think one of the things that has been a problem in this industry is traditionally we've been like the spoiled kids on the block. So everyone's like, I've got this great idea and I'm going to make this game that's going to be the best of the best, spend 12 months on it, and then release and then wonder what went wrong. And this is something that we've learned quite a lot through the traditional product space, where it's not about building a game that you love, but understanding what the customer wants. So right now with the economy or the business model shifting to free to play, we're seeing a lot of more investment towards first understanding what's your core audience, what's their unmet need, and then looking at, okay, is there really a market need for that product, or are there a lot of players? And then kind of fleshing out an idea or a product behind that. So right now we do a lot more extensive market study to see what's needed, test creatives. Even when it comes to creatives, where we've seen a lot of differences, you go with very dark, very niche, cool ideas, great themes, but these are ideas that just don't scale. And no matter what game you're building, in the end, if you are planning on growing this as a business, it has to be profitable, it has to make money. And today in the mobile space, to make money, you need to build a product that can scale. So by scale, you need to find a large audience that's willing to play. So companies like Supercell, if you're familiar with, for example, they've chosen a visual style that has a much more broader appeal. The game still is very mid-core or hardcore to a specific genre, but it's something that most people can look and say, oh wow, I like the style, I can download the game. So there's a lot of shift happening now from building things in a traditional way to doing it more customer-centric. So I would say the first fundamental thing is to first understand your core audience, what you're building, and validate that through some sort of a playtest or assumptions. Basically fail fast. So as much as possible, try and prototype early, get feedback from your customers, and don't worry too much about if this game is polished, if it's got the best animations, if it's got all the sounds in, doesn't matter. If there's a market or a group of users that really have an unmet need, they will pick up the game and they will play and enjoy it for what it is. So you can always add more details to it. It's a service, so you can build on it, but don't try and focus too much on building the best product from get-go. Focus more on what the customer needs.
Cool. So Jesper, it'd be good to, I know you've given us a little bit of insights, but it'd be good to get a little bit more insight into what the growth function at Telenor looks like. You talked a little bit about more money, more problems, or potentially not more problems. So it would just be good to get a little bit of understanding into that. And is this is the concept of discovery, acquisition, and onboarding constantly evolving as it relates to your market, or is it a bit more stable because you already are an established player in the market?
Yeah, well, obviously we're evolving quite a bit, and we have the possibility to do all the projects that we want, basically. And it's a lot of times it's just the classical thing with the silos, but it's also pacing. And sometimes, I don't know if you remember, but when Windows had this problem that it was very slow and you lacked a lot of features, but they put in a lot of other features, and then you have to wait for the next release, and then they solved those problems, but they added more problems just because they could, and they were, you know, a monopoly. It feels like that a little bit sometimes when you do big projects here, that you always want to add more because you have more resources. But I think I mostly relate that to perhaps the app, because the app is obviously where everybody wants to go, and the app is also where you can get all the consent, and you can do all of these big personalization things, and we have all of these machine learning projects, and we have a lot of data scientists actually, and most of that stuff becomes a great reality in the app, and we do good stuff, but we haven't really gotten to where we can really push all of the users into there and introduce all of the features that we know that they will appreciate. So that is what I would say is maybe the biggest frustration, because we have to solve so many problems up into that, but we're really getting there, and so we are evolving and towards becoming really frictionless into the app, and trying to maybe provide more services or act as a platform. Telcos don't really know where to go, so Telia here, you bought TV4, that was great. Maybe not. No, but I don't know. Actually, it's just that all the telcos don't know what to do, because we want to find out new growth possibilities, but obviously we can't compete with Google and Facebook and Amazon. But there is a will to innovate, and there is a will to really become frictionless towards the customers. And I do believe that app is really where everybody's heading. And so we know the goal, but we're getting there in a pace that maybe is not so quick, but no, at least we have some speed.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is a question to all, and so we can just go down the line. And if you don't want to have anything to add, feel free to not. But to close out this topic of discovery and acquisition, there's been more and more talk, and I think offline has become something that's become a lot more popular as of recent. So offline acquisition, offline discovery strategies. Just curious to get everyone's thoughts on, like offline today, if you guys have seen any sort of return on offline, if you've experimented with it, and I guess if you yourself maybe have seen something offline and been impacted by it, whereby they were able to acquire you. Anything around that?
I think it's offline is super interesting this year, and I think the last years as well, because we did an exercise like a couple of weeks ago. We've done our first like real offline campaigns this summer in Stockholm, but also in a lot of smaller cities around Sweden, and tried a lot of stuff out. And I think when you're realizing at this point right now where digital marketing have becoming so expensive, and I mean it's like a shopping window, and there's a few spots there, and everyone wants to go in there. So like Facebook marketing is getting more and more expensive. Google is also making a lot of money on this, and I think what a lot of advertisers forget is offline. So like we did, for example, one exercise then when we looked at influencer marketing. So we saw the same cost of having one influencer telling one Instagram story about our service that cost the same amount for printing up 4,000 like small papers and put them on buses all over Stockholm. And if you compare that, and you have that around for people for 2 weeks for the same price as one small post on Instagram, there is something really broken with digital marketing and the prices people pay for digital marketing. So therefore I think it's really interesting. I think it will be, people will try it out a lot, and then there will be even another channel that people don't really see today. YouTube have like exploded the last years. And I tried to download TikTok to understand TikTok a couple of weeks ago. I don't understand anything. But like that's the kind of thing you need to. There will be channels that are growing and dying. I think there's a super good example of, there was one company, I don't know under the name, but like a San Francisco startup that succeeded with like nailing MySpace as their marketing channel. And after nailing MySpace and MySpace died, they died. So you need to try out a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, so Bynk has experimented a lot with offline, and And I think the one thing I like with offline is that you can't avoid it. Like there's no ads blocker; it's in your face. So you need to see it. And I think what we try to do is to, if we invest heavily in offline somewhere, to try to pick a geographic location, so you can combine the offline with your performance marketing work, and then compare that to the rest of geographical places where you didn't have offline, to sort of see what kind of impact did the offline actually give. Since it's not measurable in the same way, that's one way of how you could get some kind of measurement on it.
Cool. So we'll move on to talk a little bit about now product engagement measurement, and I'll keep the rest of the questions open to all. So anyone just feel free to chime in if you have something to say about it. And I also just want to let you know, we'll be wrapping up in about 13 minutes, and then I want to keep 10 minutes open for the audience to ask questions as well. So let me pick the right questions then to ask at the end. So I think that, I think this is actually hyper relevant considering we're in Europe and in Stockholm. But to what extent have you all found that personalization is important and it helps? In the age of GDPR, there's also now a lot of limitations around how personal you can get, and it's also much more difficult for you to be able to roll things out that are going to, be more personal. And then you also have to find this balance between something that can be viewed as helpful versus being viewed as creepy. So, any examples of either personalization journeys that you all have rolled out throughout your careers, or that you've experienced where you felt like this was done the right way?
Sure, I'll give you an example of one of the kind of personalization push notifications we did at Fishbrain. And we worked really hard not to make it seem creepy, like, oh, you know where I'm fishing and when, and exactly what I'm doing. It's a little bit creepy. But one of the things we did is we set up geofencing around the test area, in this case, part of the Florida coast. And when a user entered the geofenced area and opened the app, then we knew that they were likely to be fishing in that area. So we waited until around 7 p.m. their time that night. So around dinner time, they're likely to be home. And if they hadn't uploaded their catch or engaged with the app in any way, we would send them a notification saying hey, did you catch any fish? Don't forget to share it on the app. But we were a little worried that might be crossing the creepy line, but it actually increased engagement with the app by a little over 100% for that test. So we're going to be rolling that out to more areas as well. It's pretty neat.
Cool.
I have a really creepy one. No, but when I used to work at Spotify a couple of years ago, and then I remember I once went into have anyone here used Optimizely?
Yeah.
It's really good, right? I love it. I think it's good. And so basically, it's an A/B testing tool, and they do personalization on websites. So I went in. I was sitting on my computer at the Spotify office, and I went to their website, and the whole header was just saying, "Hello, Spotify. This is what we do. Let's make business." And that was big. But I think you can also do those in a nicer way. But what we did was basically we combined them. There's another really cool company in the US called Clearbit that does this as well. They can see on which IP address you are on, and they can personalize the experience. So when I used to work at Soundtrack Your Brand, which is also a startup here in Stockholm, we did some personalization we did a lot of B2B sales. So if specific companies came into our website and then they were working for a chain of retail stores, or if it's restaurants, we switched the images on the website with restaurants and retail stores, which increased conversion a bit, but not nearly as much as there was a return of investment of that project. So I think personalization is really good sometimes, but you can also overdo it and overspend time on it because it's fun.
I can think of an example from a gaming perspective. So typically when we look at doing stuff, you're generalizing the changes that you're doing. You're trying to reach the masses. But where personalization works in my experiences, so for example, normally when you look at your paying customers distribution, they all fall into specific buckets. So there's, if someone's spending $100, that's usually their wallet size. If someone's spending $1, that's usually their wallet size. So how do you get someone to spend a little more or increase their average pay? So one of the things that has worked really well in games is typically when you have a game that has a lot of resources, so you realize that, okay, this specific customer or group of customers have a need at a given point. And if you can run an offer that's clubbed with that specific resource, so they know that, hey, if I buy this offer now, I'm going to get my regular currency or whatever, plus I'm also going to get this resource that will fulfill an immediate need. And that really worked in pushing the player to kind of spend an extra dollar. So not getting really greedy and charging over the board, but just saying, okay, if the average spend of a customer group is $1, then charge maybe $1.99 and give this one-time offer. And we've seen quite a lot of success in doing that without really creeping out people. So
Cool. Do you have something to add?
Sure. This is actually a big topic for us, since we have all of your data. No, but what happened is that...
It's all anonymized though, right?
Yeah. No, but you see, when you search on Google, we get that string, and no, we can't do that. So what happened in the telecom industry is that Telia was actually the first to do the digitalization thing. So a little bit envious of you guys. So everybody was trying to catch up, and then Telenor had all these great projects, and we bought a lot of cool stuff, and then just GDPR came out of nowhere, and we were like, damn it. And so basically what we do is we have to go almost the other way. So we maybe do less personalization than a lot of companies actually, and we don't want to freak you out. So we take maybe cues from Vimla, which is also a Telenor company actually, and that's a millennial brand, and they're really focused on being present in the customer service. So we have even the president of that project, or whatever you call it, like boss, sitting 1 hour a week in customer service along with everybody else. So that's really all about the experience of the customer and trying to get them into the app and to have that seamless experience where we actually can tell the salespeople that if you get this upsell, you can get paid, and you don't have to see the web as a big threat. And that's what we do. Then we have also a lot of companies in Southeast Asia, and they don't have GDPR there. So I will actually tell you about one thing is that I think it was in Malaysia when we had a collaboration with YouTube. So if you watch a YouTube video and your credit went out, or you were low on credit, they got a push in the YouTube app. Do you want to buy more credit or surf? And you can just do that in one press and then continue to watch that YouTube video. So there was a collaboration, and it was really the need just then and there. That's sort of like a personalization.
Yeah,
that's what you can do in Southeast Asia, and even more creepy things, I guess. But yeah,
it's true. I mean, I think it's an interesting topic, right? Creepy and helpful, right? Because I think there are moments where we feel this like, oh, this is creepy, and then there's moments where we usually like, was this helpful? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious. Like after GDPR rolled out, I'm curious to show hands. Like now, everyone, when you go to a website, you get this cookie consent. How many people actually read it or say no? Yeah. Cool. That's really interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Like I always just go, okay. I just maybe just sold my soul to the internet, but I just really. For me, it's more valuable that I just get access to that content right then and there. But interesting, cool. So we'll close out with one question, and then we'll leave it open for the audience. I think that one of the big topics also now is like acquisition is super important, but churn is also extremely an important issue. So, what are some strategies that you guys have rolled out to help mitigate churn across, I guess, your experiences?
I mean, on average, insurance customer stays 9 years, so...
But maybe it's Spotify, or maybe it's Spotify or some different brand, or...
No, but like, I think it's, like, engagement is super important. I think what we're trying to figure out right now is making engagement features for insurance. So that's like when you're in the middle of that project. So how could the insurance be a part of your daily life? on average, a Swede contact their insurance company once every third year, and it's when something really bad has happened. So we're trying to find ways right now how to provide value and give back to the people that are using your service on like a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And I think the things that we've been using engagement-wise so far is, I mean, we have a lot of projects that we're trying to figure out and get out right now. But how we have been engaging right now is a lot about making it easier for people to invite their friends. And I think that's what we've seen when people are coming back to the app have been for that kind of action. So like one project that we did now this summer, the year after the last push of students last year, was that we went to Google Trends and we saw the 2 times of the year where students are moving. And it's basically the 2 weeks before they start school in university, and it's the 2 weeks after they've been like doing their intros. So what we did was that we managed to get a lot of people on board before they went to the universities. And then we pushed basically that weekend that we know that most people are getting access to their homes, which is like the first day of October. We pushed them and tried to get people to refer to friends that would get their keys to the new apartment, which worked really good. So then we did that both in like email but also push notifications.
So one of the things we're doing as a company at Fishbrain is really using a lot of machine learning to develop churn models and predict like when people are most likely to churn based on like which features they maybe interacted with recently or which features they hadn't interacted with within a certain period of time. And one of the learnings we had was that whenever new users hadn't interacted with the map within like the first 7 days, they were like 80% more likely to churn because the app has a lot of value. The map has a lot of value for the app. So what we did was once we identified that, we were able to identify which users had recently installed the app and not access these features and send them notifications like, hey, have you checked out our map yet? Like on day 3 and day 6, which significantly reduced churn rate for those customers because that really enabled them to discover those features a lot easier.
Yeah, I feel you, Carl, about like not being reminded about your banking stuff. But what we believe in is that we want to give as much control as possible to the customer. And so, like I said before, with the loan, like you don't want to be reminded about it, but we try to add features so you feel that you're in charge of your loan and you decide about it. So actually, we've seen, even if we haven't been like in the market that long, we can see already that we have a really high engagement in our customer base. So I think it's the majority of them have been interacting with 1 or 2 of our features. So I think that's really also what you said, like finding, like, do the user find the feature, and if they're not finding the feature, how can we support that?
Cool.
Yeah, for us, churn is probably one of the biggest things that is a constant. So out of your entire user base, we have probably about 5 or less than 5% of users spending, and the rest come and leave at some point. So where in games at least I've seen success is to get the player coming back every day, you need to give something fresh in terms of how the game plays, because typically what happens is you start doing an activity or a mechanic and then you're stuck in a grind, and that's when the user feels the pain where, okay, it's just getting increasingly difficult, you're not going anywhere, you're not progressing, or you're not kind of going down. So from a user engagement perspective, the flow is really important, which is they need a constant feeling that they're getting better at something. So there's new challenges coming that's kind of helping them feel good that, hey, this is great, I'm learning something, and I'm also being able to demonstrate my skills that I've learned in these past days. So we try and mix and match events on a regular basis so that there's a cadence of something happening every week or every day, which promotes the user to come and check back. And also try and link events or activities in the game to other real life activities. So for example, Stockholm is a content driven game where we're just doing clothing our fashionable items for players. So we try and link what content we put to real world elements, what's happening in the broad media. So it kind of promotes this thought for a player that, okay, I've read something about this, I want to go check what the game is doing about it. So keeping the user constantly in mind, where it's not just about engaging them within the product, but outside of the product, whatever avenues you find, try and correlate that to some form of engagement in your game. and that would most likely pull you into that.
Cool. Do you want to speak on the topic as well?
Sure,
or?
I can say something quick.
So the market is not growing. That's actually going to decrease by a couple of percentage points the coming years. So then it becomes a zero-sum game. So this is the anti-growth market. So basically what you want to do is switch to better customers, because you know you're going to lose some. And then the ones that you're going to get, maybe you want to get better ones that actually buy more from you and buy broadband. And so that's actually, I saw at another event, it was a professor from Wharton Business School, and he had this big calculation on how you actually are able to gain more by just getting new customers that are like your best customers, and forgetting about or not being too worried about having churn on your bad customers. So that's also something, the Pareto principles.
Sure.
So that is also something that maybe not we talk about all the time, but you can sort of see where you want to do that in this zero-sum game market. So also keep that in mind, that don't put 80% of your effort keeping the 20% of your customers that basically suck. You just let them go and then get more of the good ones. So that's also another perspective on this one.
Cool. So I want to open it up now to the audience. We might want to extend that far, but it's a small enough room. Does anybody have any questions for anyone on the panel? Yeah, please.
So, so we have a lot of apps in our phones, right? And how's the statistics when it comes to sort of, before it was, you're using 5 out of 50 apps. That's what you're using, so more or less the rest is just garbage in the phone. So have that stats changed? Is a question. The big question is, what can you do in order to be sort of remembered again and be sort of lifted up to be one of the 10 at least?
I don't have any specific data on that, but I see what you're saying. I think it's just a constant challenge for app marketers and mobile marketers in general to vie for that attention with all the other apps available. So I just think a common best practice is finding ways to remind the user that, hey, this app is here, you haven't interacted with it in a while. How can you send a non-creepy push message or something, or an email that might prompt them to remember the app or open the feature, because just from an app optimization standpoint, one of the metrics is how often do people open the app and engage with it. So that metric alone is important to get people to continue to have your app continue to rank highly in app search engine results.
So the only stats I have, and I'm not 100% sure if this is right, but is that you have 15 apps on your home screen, and that's what you use. So we want to try to be one of those, but then that puts a lot of challenge on actually providing the features that's relevant. So you want to interact, like you said, having a purpose going in there and using it that much, because otherwise you end up on the second or third screen, and then you end up in the challenge that you're speaking about. It's tough.
I don't have a stat to back this up, but then if you look at it from a churn perspective, what's important is, as long as the users that are paying are continuing to engage with the product, the rest really don't matter that much as a business perspective, because you are going to always have a bunch of users that will install a lot of apps and engage only with one from that 10. But the one app that you engage in or I engage in is always going to be different, because our priorities are different. So it's more important to preemptively or proactively look at those valued paying customers and how they are engaging, and then identify instances where you think that the engagement is dropping, and then try and do something within the product when you have them. Because once you've lost them, then it's really hard to bring them back. And it's likely that if they haven't played for a while, you drop in a push notification that's going to irritate them more, and they'll just delete the app. So as much as possible, try and address this as early as possible when you have their attention.
To piggyback off what Vineeth says, I mean, what we've seen at Branch from talking with companies around the world is that it really depends on the region. There's certain regions like the US, you don't even want to see how many apps I have on my phone. But I also don't care. I have enough space, and it doesn't bother me having so many apps, and when I need to find one, I'll just go and use my search bar and find it. But then you have other regions, for example, like Germany, where people will literally download an app, they use it for that one purpose, and then they'll delete it. So I think it's also there's also a cultural notion around this as well. But you're right, there's definitely this yearn to be in that top 15, no matter which region you're in. Any other? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Swati, and thank you for this insightful discussion. So, as a mobile marketer or growth marketer, what do you think is it beneficial to have Google Ads on your app as an additional revenue stream, especially on the gaming side? So there's so many ads that you get. You know, if you watch this, you will get this and things like that. So, is it like a straight strategy to do the revenue, but it definitely hampers the user experience? So, how do you balance that out?
So,
guys, the question. You have to repeat the question.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so the question was how important is ads as a revenue stream within your product? And from a games point of view, I'd say that it's hit a point where it's as important as in-app purchases, because when you look at the audience base, you've got 5% of your users are actually paying customers, and the remaining are all freeloaders. So the best way to get them to you still need them because they're not just contributing to the ads business, but they're also contributing towards organic growth. If you have a multiplayer game, those users are necessary for the paying customers to play with. So what I've seen in my experience working with a lot of companies, we've done experiments where we show ads to paying customers and regular customers. The common viewpoint is that that's bad, players are going to churn, but we've actually seen the opposite effect. So we've shown ads to paying customers and we've not seen any difference in their engagement levels or their retention levels. Right now, watching ads is kind of accepted now. Most players they've seen it in all the games that they play. Ads are there and they are used to the flow. But what's important is to not have intrusive ads in the sense like having those irritating banners or interstitials, but rewarded ads or ads that kind of aid in something that you're doing within the game. So if you're stuck somewhere, obviously you don't want to pay the money, but you're willing to watch an ad to get that resource. That works really well. And more than the number of ads that a user watches, it's making sure that if you have 1 million users, as many unique users watch at least one ad. That's important because then your eCPMs are going to be a lot higher.
Cole, do you have anything maybe from Spotify days about ads? I know it might not have been your realm, but
I think I was never a part of that kind of strategy, so I wouldn't want to tell.
Cool. No worries. Yeah, we have time for one more question, so or fine, we can do two. Why not? Yeah.
Okay, I got. So I'm Malin. I work for a small startup called War on Cancer. And I'm interested in your experiences around like personal referral. Is it worth doing it like in the app versus outside of the app? I think it's also really interesting what you said about offline. But if we focus on like digital, like referral from person to person, what's your experience?
I think that it's referrals is tricky. So like today, when we started, around 10% came from referrals, and currently we're insuring about 15,000 households and like suites in their households. And what we saw now is that around 30% comes from it. So it has been increasing over time. But what we've been doing when we're doing like focus groups and asking these people of like how they referred, and usually or almost all times when it comes to services and apps, you're sitting and you're talking about something and this topic comes up. It's very few times where you manage in an app to push someone and saying you should refer a friend. I think like a classic example is like when you've been taking a Voi. I do that a lot. And when you're done, they, I think for a time, pushed you and saying like, do you want to share your ride? And at that point, you are usually in a rush. You're on your way to something, that's why you took a Voi. You have already been given this 5-star thing, and now you want me to share something on Facebook. I don't have time for this right now. Those kind of things is very hard. So I think, to answer your question, I think usually what we've seen with our referral program is that people are talking about this, if that's a company or if it's someone that moved or insurance or whatever it is. And what we're giving, our job is to educate people so they know we have a referral program. And if that comes up, that discussion, than we see in time that people invite each other. We looked at kind of the average time between someone sending a link to accepting it, and it was within 15 seconds. When people are inviting, they usually sit by a table, and I think a lot of services are being shared in this way. I think that was how Uber worked. People were at some place and someone needed to take a cab and said, I have this link, you can take it. So to find those moments, I think is super important.
Yeah, so I used to work at an e-commerce site called members.com, and we also always had a always-on referral. So you can always invite a friend. I think that's good to establish that this is something that always can happen. But then you can also run campaigns. Like for now, this month you will get more for a referral. Like you get even cheaper insurance or something. So using it like as an always-on layer, but also being able to do campaigns on. I think that's a good combination.
Thank you.
Cool. Oh, yeah, I just got a really quick question. Has any of you tried PWAs, converting your applications to like these where you can just save the application?
Progressive web apps.
Yeah. No. It's just interesting to see how that affects engagement. If it's like if it does lead to an increase in installs or not.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I haven't worked with it, but I know at least there's one big retailer in India, fashion retailer, that's actually using it. So they don't have a native app, but they're using PWA. It's called Mintra.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it, at least from what we've seen with PWAs, is it's very good in Android-heavy markets, but in markets where you're also trying to target iOS users, PWAs haven't been as effective. So I think it really depends on the region and the OS. That's just from what we've seen from the businesses that we've talked to.
I have one thing. I have found somebody's keys. So please check it and or check it on the reception right here and.
Cool. Well, on that note, everyone, I think we can wrap up today. Can we give the panel like a big round of applause, please? And please like stop by. I work at branch, Amanda works at branch, Elena as well. We just want to know, like, what did you guys think of the event? Is this cool? Should we come back to Stockholm? Should we do this again? Okay, cool, awesome. That's great feedback. And then I think the panelists will be sticking around for a little bit longer. If you want to have any like one-on-one conversations, highly